Hi, I'm Lisa.
And I'm Lisa.
Today I am headed out to see a friend, a new friend, one that I met on my last movie project. She has been doing the off-grid life for a very long time, and she's got her systems locked. I am so excited for you to meet her and for both of us to learn how she has conquered the desert off-grid for years and years. Currently on Highway 14, which is also known as the Turquoise Trail. It is so pretty. It's like a scenic byway, a way to get from Albuquerque to the Santa Fe area without being on the interstate. And it's worth it. It maybe takes another 10, 15 minutes, I don't know, but it's so worth it to see this beautiful country versus the interstate, which is also beautiful, but it's an interstate. Coming into the adorable little town of Madrid, New Mexico. It is an eclectic little hippie enclave. I believe this is a turquoise mining town back in the day, and it kind of died out, and then a bunch of artists and hippies brought it back to life. The Mine Shaft Tavern is kind of famous. I've never been in there, and that makes me very sad. I believe it's built around a mine shaft. And that's just, I'm not even sure why I think that. Spent 3 weeks shooting a movie at this house on this hill. Oof. It was brutal. It was night shoots. It was freezing.
I've climbed the mountains in Montana, danced in the lights of New Orleans. Portland ran away with me, and San Francisco stayed with me. Nashville made its way in between.
We are here at Lisa's house.
Welcome.
Lisa's my new friend. We met on the last film project that I did. And we got to talking, and she told me about this amazing setup that she has. She's been off-grid for how long?
Since 1996.
So for a minute, she's been off-grid, and she's got
A little bit.
all of the things that I want to do eventually on my land with building is already happening here. And she's made the mistakes and corrected them and done them better over time.
Yes.
And I'm so grateful for your knowledge and your willingness to open up your home and to show me all this cool stuff.
My pleasure.
Oh,
this is the gray
so
water.
Warm in here, of course.
Yeah, and it partially heats the house. And I think the eventual plan is to get one of those extractors that will extract humidity out of the air, and that'll be another nice water resource. This is where all the water comes into the house. So when we go out on the deck, I'll show you the water tanks. We have a pump in the main room, which is underneath this level here. What's also in here is a 300-gallon water tank buried in sand. Nice. So this is what the house what feeds off of, is this tank. It's temperature controlled because it's buried. It's not like made like some of these water tanks, which is why we don't have our main water tanks buried, because it'll cave in if it doesn't have that internal structure. They're very expensive, right. But they're BPA free, food grade plastic. So the pump is only drawing to fill this tank, and that way you don't have a a pump running all the time because that's kind of a far distance.
Yeah.
So as long as this tank is full, the house is being fed, and this feeds the kitchen sink, the bathroom sinks, and the washer and the bathroom. Only the sinks and the bathtub go into the gray water system because the kitchen sink is considered black water.
Right.
And this is where we borrowed from Earthship concept. So this is the idea is that you keep it moving. So this is an inverted slope. So the shallow end is here and this is like the reception box where the water comes in and drains from all of the different water sources. And then we have a pump on the deep end that just is on a timer, and it just like is constantly circulating. So in this cell is this EPDM liner, and then we put rocks that we harvested from outside and lined the bottom of the cell with inside the liner. On top of that is a foot of sand, and then the rest is soil. So you have like tropical plants growing in your reception cell because this is sort of a tropical environment.
It feels that way. It feels great in here.
Yeah. And the roots will eventually find their way down to the water, which is meandering through all of these rocks and through the sand, and it kind of cleans the water. And there's baffles. They kind of start here, and you have these kind of little viewing tubes so you can see what level your water is at. You know, I don't really use this very much because it will get full after 3 bathtubs, but it will get overloaded. So we have another timer that pulls the water from the deepest area of the system, and it'll just release down by the trees. And the eventual plan is to landscape this entire hillside and have it going to trees on the south side of the house. This is working great. I mean, I haven't had a terrific luck with growing like the subsistence foods like onions and garlic. We grew a ton of taro last year and harvested all of that. This is a banana tree. We got lemongrass. We got rosemary. Got a bit of onions. These are mostly like decorative plants just to keep it like temperate and everybody happy.
Why do you think you haven't had luck with foods?
I think it's just a little too dry on the first level of because we don't water. It's watering itself. The water's coming from the ground, but I think a lot of those plants need water from, on the top because their root systems maybe don't go as far. And plus they're kind of competing. It's been working out so great. Like we harvested all these from our former residence, which is right next door, and just added them into the mix. But then that requires us running water lines to keep them happy.
Right.
I think the eventual plan for this room is to do like a sleeping couch out here.
So my gosh.
Can sit and enjoy your coffee in the winter. It gets really hot in the summer, but the sun is higher then, so there's not as much direct sunlight coming.
One of the first things I want to do is build a shelter over it. I got a travel trailer. I want it to face south and then build a shelter where in the summer it's shaded.
Yeah.
But yeah, that whole southern exposure thing.
It kind of makes the whole thing go round. So we do run on propane because when we first got here, we weren't sure how the greenhouse was going to work, and we need a way to run our stove that isn't electricity hungry.
Right.
The line is buried and goes into the brain room. So we have 900-watt solar panels on the roof. There's only 6 up there right now, and we really need it because we are having difficulty with our power situation when it gets stormy in the winter. That box up there has a lightning surge protector because in our old house, we had a lot of trouble with lightning. There's a ton of iron oxide in the soil.
Oh.
And so it conducts really easily from the ground, and we have blown out our system.
Wow.
On several occasions. And it wasn't until we grounded the house and put a surge protector, which is that cap, that plastic cap on the outside of the box. So it keeps the electricity from traveling into the room and blasting out the whole system.
That's
Which is,
wild.
you know, your charge controller, and the charge controller is connected to every outlet. And we've lost computers, we've lost stereos. And then, you know, we did the simple trick of like running a line from the gutter into the ground, and that was all it needed. The electricity will follow the water and the metal to the ground and will not go into your house.
Wow.
It's crazy.
How did you get started with the off-grid?
Oddly, even in 1996, I think my husband and I decided that the cost of living was prohibitive, and that it prevented you from doing a lot of things that you wanted to do. And so the cheapest solution for us, and also the most enjoyable, is to just live closer to the ground. And when I say that, that's like a very loose term, but you live outside of the concentrations of population, and you kind of forge a life in alternative ways. So this is my worm reception box. So this is only for the kitchen sink.
Oh,
and I've been keeping worms for 24 years now, 23 years. I bought them when I first got here. I love worm composting. They take care of my paper waste, and they take care of all the sink water waste. So this is also an EPDM liner. And here comes all of the food waste from the kitchen into the cell. I have rocks like in this kind of like in a meandering pattern. This is pine bark and coconut coir, which the worms like to live in, and they stay plenty warm. I mean, I do need to insulate this door better, but they seem to do all right. And then here is just, it's like a whole PVC pipe with a bunch of holes in it, and the screen to keep the worms from going down. And then they kind of clean the water, and then the water lets out there. And that pipe will freeze in the winter, but if we bury it up nicely and put a baffle on the end, it'll be just fine. But you can see they're pretty happy. And they're like
nice
living
exchange
large.
you have with them. Yeah.
You know, and with worm boxes, it's funny because you will have like other critters that live in symbiosis, but they never get crazy. And occasionally you'll have to like scoop this out and put it into the drier areas, but it's working great. Like there's no bugs inside the house. You have to keep cardboard on it because that's kind of their original food. They're paper eaters.
Oh.
They like anything cardboard and mostly doll paper. They don't like the shiny colored paper because there's a lot of stuff in the inks.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah.
So you just keep it really like neutral paper. But I'm really happy with this. This was something I pulled off YouTube. A lot of people in yurts in like Australia and New Zealand do this process. So when we moved into the mountains of California outside of Los Angeles, we chose a rental situation that was definitely below the mean average of rent. So there were houses built on this property. They were red tagged. They were destroyed, but the water systems were still in place. So my genius landowner, who was a builder, he employed a lot of really ancient techniques, a lot of Japanese building styles into his structures, his rental structures. His house was amazing. He bought this property at rock bottom prices, and then he took an earth mover and dragged all of these different levels out on the hillside of this whole spate of houses. And he pulled in all these really nice Avion Airstream type trailers and built systems of decks with outdoor showers, outdoor sinks, solar heating systems, and very low level lighting and electricity. And so we moved onto his property and became immediately inspired on how we could evolve and improve his systems. And then we started integrating our own. And we lived in every one of his outdoor structures. So we were almost 98% outside. We only slept indoors, and we took off with that and evolved out of him. His name was Cliff Lee. Used to work for Volkswagen back in the 60s.
Right on. That is so cool. What a great concept to just
Yeah.
terrace out this
Buck the
eroding.
system,
Yeah,
as it were.
absolutely. I'll
And
see
you
your
know,
system and I'll raise you.
that exactly. That did not come without its hazards. Cliff pissed off a lot of his neighbors, and how do neighbors get back at one another? They rat them out
They
to
call
the
the
city.
county.
But that never ever really happened, and he managed to build his structures in such a way that he could list them as like vacation properties. And so the rule of thumb was pretend you're just weekending here and you're going to your real house to do your most of your living, which wasn't the case. You know, he never believed in walls. There was like a series of screens or like shutters, and he salvaged a lot of his building materials. His carpentry was impeccable. We also lived off grid, or not off grid, but off the map in Santa Cruz when we first moved to California. So our sojourn out west was like our catalyst for living close to the ground. It's a submersible pump that just keeps the water pumping, and like it can be as simple as a sprinkler system on top or just a hose where the water is just constantly moving, and so it doesn't give the biology enough time to start to take over the water. You're also supposed to scrub these tanks out a year or once every 2 years because there will be a little bit of algae. It just depends on how much sunlight is allowed to get in. So yeah, this is the brain. This contains all of our pressure pumps and the first stage of our filtration system. This is like our first filter. It's just a cloth filter that you have to replace every once in a while, and it comes directly from the pump. It's pretty loud, so this is like kind of soundproof.
Oh, nice.
The water comes into the room, it goes through the filter, and this pressure pump is the one that controls the tank on the inside.
Mm-hmm.
And this is like the main tank. You have these 3 separate solar filter systems, and they're all different types of filters. They don't have to be changed out as much either. And then the final filter is a UV light filter before it goes into the house. And then we have an on-demand water heater. Pretty happy with it, except it does eat a lot of propane. We want to switch this out eventually and do the solar water heater, and then just have this on the side for the winter. Mm-hmm. You know, because you can't keep a solar water heater outside. It'll freeze and break.
Gotcha.
But this room is great. It's like totally animal proof, and it's warm. This is a first flush system that we put on all of our our 2 main gutters, mm-hmm. so that the first rain dirt doesn't go right into your tanks. It'll go into this flush system and sit in here and settle, and you can just empty it out, and then all your dirt and bird poop and whatever is like
Are these connected, or you take them out before
we take them out in the winter?
Oh, okay.
Because they'll freeze, because there's water always sitting in these. So we still haven't finished 2 of the 4 walls. And then the other plan that we have is to put a second story up here, just that goes halfway into the room, so you still get the sunlight, mm-hmm. and that'll be another bedroom. And it's a great view.
No doubt.
Yeah.
360.
Yeah. It's gorgeous. It's kind of cool. It's like living on the prow of a ship, basically. And, you know, all like some of these windows open so that, you know, in the summer the heat just kind of escapes. It's really...
Oh, yeah. Transom situation.
Yeah. It's been really effective. We do not suffer from the heat and cold in this house.
And when did you get to New Mexico?
Well,
how did that happen?
We were supposed to go to school here. We hitchhiked here, actually.
Really?
In 3 rides from Prescott, Arizona, where friends of ours were going to school. And we were supposed to go to school here, but we had already seen California. So we returned to the promised land and lived there and completed our education there. Never took official classes in sustainable living. We were more art students at the time, and we moved back to New Mexico after 9/11. That was kind of like our exit strategy for getting out of the large concentrations of population, when you started to realize like that things could fall apart and you need to be more self-reliant. So we took that ticket back to New Mexico, and this area just welcomed us with open arms. Like
I love that.
made it very easy for us to kind of integrate our transition into a lifestyle. And we've been here 24 years now, 23
Wow.
years. Yeah. I think the future plan is to extend this deck another 6 feet so we can go all the way around the house. This is a partially buried room. This is the first room that we built. And this is basically your temperature almost year round. Like we don't heat it, we don't cool it. And this is all American clay walls over drywall. This is a bamboo floor. We have like all plant-based stains for all of the wood in the house. And it is like, I sleep like a dream. I'm picturing like another level of shade with the roof. And then we have sprinkler systems going off to rain down on some of the plants out that we're going to build out here. And this will all be tiered. It'll be buried in rock. And then same concept, sand on top, soil on top of that. And we'll have 3 levels of water running through this whole thing. And then we have like subsidiary tanks because we get a ton of overflow. Like when there's a big storm, the water's just coming out everywhere. We have an overflow. It goes to those trees over there. Mm-hmm. But like we'll take a pump and we'll just empty from this side and just fill these tanks on the side. And this is all landscaping water. So this is the non-electric Sunmar. This thing costs about $1,000 new. I think I bought this one for like $300 from somebody in Colorado that never ever used it. It's a drum system. You just keep the door open. Every time you go, you turn the drum, and then you got your excavation system on the bottom. The rest of the gutters were all cut, riveted, and sculpted from scratch. Less seams that you have in your gutter, the better off. A landscaping company in Santa Fe where they have these giant pallets of $3,000 unique stone from Utah, Colorado, all the Four Corners area, but sometimes they break open. So they'll have like a little pile of this and a little pile, and I just would come in and buy like $100 increments of every kind of stone.
Right on.
To make my staircase.
It's beautiful.
That's like some serious prehistoric.
Right on. You have 10 acres here? Is that right?
We do. Yep. This is one 10-acre parcel of a 100-acre covenant. You know, the people that pioneered this land, you know, they built with and worked with whatever they had. And they made us look really boring. I mean, they were having tons of kids, doing lots of fun things. That's where this house was born. It was born out of all of that experience. And it's impressive to see that all of those years of living close to the ground have evolved into a real, you know, kind of mark of how you can do it. You can do it well, and you can pass it on.
Yeah, like you're passing it on to me today.
I'm passing it on to you today. We're now in the tribe.
I love it. I love that. And I love that I can just, hey, Lisa,
yeah,
how the heck do I do this? This
Instead
is crazy.
Wait for the beep. Yeah. So I'm excited to see where you're about to set up.
Yeah, me too.
This is like part of that whole subculture of hippies that came out here and just like lived off the land. A lot of them lived up near Taos and not Ruidoso, but El Rito area and Abiquiu. But this was another faction, and it was like 10 families. They bought a 100-acre parcel, and each one of them had 10 acres apiece. So like their teepee was down here until it blew away. And then they pulled an RV over here. This is butt up against BLM land that has like a 100-year covenant, which is awesome because there are so much evidence of the Pueblo people that lived out here. There's so many pottery shards. There's a lot of petrified wood and kind of ancient structures that you can see. And you can see where they lived because all the plant life and all the grasses are totally different. So they were hunter-gatherers, but they were also farmers. They dammed up all these little arroyos. There was one water source in a few canyons over that everybody fed off of for their home life. But, you know, they would dam up all of these arroyos and like grow on these little plots, their squash and their beans and their corn. And so we're basically like the first people to ever live off this land since they were here, which is really like, wow, special.
Yeah,
you know?
you're a steward.
Yeah.
You're not just a landowner, you're a steward, and that you recognize that as huge.
That couple dug this out thinking, this is where we will have our dream house. And truth be told, if we had known how long this is going to take, we would never have built there. Like, this is the spot. But yeah, they took an earth loader and they dug this spot out, and that's about all they did when they were out here. I mean, we had a wind take our roof off one night, just ripped the whole thing off, and with the sun skylight smashed into his truck. It was intense. That's a 70-mile-an-hour gust. You have to start from that because that's basically the environment that is going to take over in a warming planet. So you start with that. And then once you've successfully managed to create an environment that has a stasis, you know that you're like winning. You're winning.
Yeah. And then the environment changes.
Yeah.
And you figure it out.
Yeah, you go underground, you stay low, like low profile. That's another thing this house I wish we had done. We would have built more into the land instead of up. These are the things you find out after living out here for almost 20 years. This is our pet hedgehog.
Oh, hey.
Sandy. He's pretty cool. He's like an exotic pet. They had this hedgehog and they really wanted to find a different home for him.
Wow.
So I decided
Hey,
to take him on. He's like a nocturnal creature, so he won't be stoked about coming out.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, but I'll take him out for a minute.
I understand.
Let's see if you come out and say hi. He's really cool. He's just,
hey, buddy.
He's shy. I know. Here, let me see if I can hold you without you stabbing me. Oh.
Wow. Hey, buddy. Oh my gosh, look at that nose.
Yeah, they're like an olfactory creature. Like,
hi, smell.
Yeah, he'll just want to like smell you and like lick you. We let him run around in the greenhouse at night, and he takes care of a lot of the pill bugs, which is super cool. So I just shred all of my junk mail, and you put it in here into this box, double line box. So the first one has a bunch of holes to release some of the moisture because you got to keep this thing wet.
Awesome.
And then you have your worm castings here. You know, this is all worm poop.
Nice.
It's some of the best
So fertile. Yeah.
plant food in the world. What you do is you throw it into a 5-gallon bucket with sugar. I use molasses. You put molasses into the bucket with the worm compost, like maybe 2 or 3 handfuls. Mm-hmm. You aerate it overnight or like for 3 or 4 days, and all the biology in the compost multiplies. And then you pour the worm tea onto your plant.
It looks like this is sort of the brain of it. And then I have here, because Lisa and I always for years lived with 12-volt power. We wanted just raw 12-volt power without the inverter connected. Mm-hmm. So this is actually a little 12-volt. Comes out of here at 24, and this converts it back to 12. So we have 12-volt power in the house.
This is what all the other landscapes are up against. They're up against exposure, loss of trees and plant life, extreme heat and cold, and wind. Wind is a huge factor out here, given the stunted nature of the trees.
Yes, I'm concerned. Will be concerned living in a 24-foot travel trailer with wind as well. I've looked into, how do I strap this down? Well, you can strap down the frame, but what about, when it tears the top of you'll have your frame. I've lived and worked here. I've worked on location.
Yes.
And then, just inundated with all of the elements, so I'm aware of what New Mexico can throw at you, but planning for it, really making sure that I'm not going to have my trailer fall apart in the middle of a windstorm while I'm asleep.
And you might.
That's the thing. I know you were saying
Yeah.
the wind ripped your roof off at one point.
Yep.
And she I'm thinking, okay, you know what you're doing, and it still happened to you.
No.
So it's going to happen to me.
First of all, that house was not ours, and they used the kind of like tar and what do they call it? The roll roofing. These kind of building systems do not stand the test of time and elements. And that's the reason why that happened.
Okay. So that wasn't something you had built. That
no.
Makes me feel better. Thank you.
And if you want to feel even better, the pioneers of this land started out in a teepee with 3 children.
That's true.
And in one fell swoop, like the wind gust came, the teepee was gone, filling in a long legacy of people just doing with what they have and making it work.
I hope that was just as enjoyable and informative for you as it was for me. I'm so grateful to Lisa for her friendship and her willingness to share her knowledge. If you would like to help support my channel, you can do so by hitting the join button below or heading on over to Patreon. The link for that is in the description box. I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please be kind to one another. Love, Lisa.